Why would you do a platter? Well, maybe you do it for function. You want to serve something in it, or you want to display fruit or something like that. And so when you design a platter, you sort of have to think about what the function is. And if it's going to be something that needs to be stable on the table, you're going to need to make your foot a little bigger. If it's something that you're going to want to pass around and people holding onto, you might want to consider how you behave the rim of it. And sometimes think about some of the little details you might put into a platter. Like in this case, I kind of made sure there was a definitive transition from the rim to the edge. I highlighted that, put a little decoration on here, and did a bead up here with a little bit of a reveal on this side here. You can see that. Pass that around. So that's not exactly what we're going to do tonight, but it's similar to it. On the other hand, maybe you just want to have a nice piece of wood and display it like this curly maple. And in that case, you don't really need a functional foot. You can just have the really small little foot here. I've left a space in the rim between so that you can see that to highlight the curly of this wood. You may have, if you have a really nice piece of wood that you want to embellish the rim with texturing or with paint, coloring, dyes, there's all kinds of creative things you can do with platters. I'm still working on the finish of this. It's not the best, but that's true oil finish. I need to do a little sanding on that.
Hey, Tim, call that the collection plate as you pass it around.
Yeah, that's right. It does look like
it looks like a collection.
So this is a platter I turned a while back, and my wife likes this. This is one of her favorite pieces, and it's a beautiful piece of wood. It's a big leaf maple. I believe the finish is probably true oil or something like that, or antique oil. And I like it, but I think I'm going to be a little critical of it. I personally like a little smaller foot. I think that's more aesthetically pleasing. So, that's 5 years of difference, at least minimum of 5 years of experience to figure this stuff out. The other thing I like is I like having sort of a definitive transition between the rim and the bowl. And that's another preference, I think, but here I don't have that. I've just made a smooth transition. And some of that's preference, but I just definitely think the aesthetics of this one is better than this one. This is cedar. I don't know what the finish is. Maybe you just want to make dinner plates. In which case you'd have a little larger foot, a nice smooth transition here. That's just, just a practice thing. You could also make this, throw it around.
Yeah. I think this is perfect. That's the way it is.
That's preference.
The bowl there, I like that too, but I don't see anything wrong with it. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful piece of wood.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the way it sits flat.
Okay, so then here's a walnut one, and I put a little embellishment on the rim. I kind of like that. It wasn't this. I went to a session with David Ellsworth probably 6, 7, 8 years ago at Woodcraft, and I asked him to criticize one of my bowls. I don't know if that was smart or not, but I wanted to learn. And one of the things he said is that you shouldn't make the bottom of you should always remove whatever you held, however you hold the bowl, should be removed, so that when people look at it, they can't figure it out, unless they're a woodturner. But so that would be the criticism he would make of this bowl. And the bowl we're going to turn tonight, the platter we're going to turn tonight, is going to violate that rule. I'm going to leave this recess in place, but it's such a recess that you really have a hard time kind of figuring out where that recess is. you know, if you're a wood turner, you know it, but if you're not a wood turner, you probably wouldn't know
Little thick on the inside, but
that.
that's nice, Charlie. Thank you.
Okay, so, oh yeah, this gets some, don't forget your line.
Sign out my microphone.
So do I have to repeat that now, on microphone?
Yeah, can you go over all that again? No, the cameras will pick it up, and as long as everybody heard you, I think we're good.
Is this right?
Record.
And by the way, that's maple that you passed around, everybody. Steve, you agree?
What's that?
That was maple that the Hollis asked us to identify, wasn't it?
I could be swinging too.
Yeah, good. Looks a lot like maple. But it,
The bark didn't look like Steve's gonna, but it still like maple bark.
He's white.
The same.
Did you have any leaves of that? Did you see?
No, the tree'd been down, it's laying for a while.
and we'll do a microphone check once he gets geared up, and
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Can you hear them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim.
yeah, they're both recording. Thank you.
Okay, so I got this piece of maple, soft maple from Peach State Lumber. And so it's a dry piece of wood. It has the grain direction this way. And if you look at the end of the bowl, you'll notice the rings go like this. So this would be the hard side of the bowl. This would be the bark side of the bowl. And if you're going to use this, if this was a bowl, you'd want this to be on the bottom, and the same way with the platter. So if this thing starts to change shape, it'll remain flat on the board. So the other option is perhaps you have a log that you want to take some platter blanks out of. So if you look at the end of the log, you have the pith, and you'd have these rings like this on the end of the log. The first thing you're going to do when you process a log is you're going to slice out a piece to take the pith out so that you get bowl blanks on either side. Well, these pieces right here are quarter sawn, where the grain is going like this, and they make great platters because then the straight grain goes straight through the platter. So selecting wood is a great thing. So I want to do a lot of work on the bottom, but in order to do that, I need to figure out how to hold it. The top of the platter's got to go into the chuck while I work on the bottom. So I need to figure out how to put a spigot on the top, what's going to be the top of the bowl. Now, you could use a screw chuck, but I'm not a big fan of those. And if you got a really thin piece of wood, you don't really get much bite into with screw chucks. So what I've done is I've taken a piece of using double back tape. I've taped on a mouse pad onto a round blank here. You can just take a piece of mouse pad and hold it against the chuck and jam it in there, but I think that takes like 3 hands, so this is easier for me. So I'm just going to jam this against, it's going to be this friction drive. So that's going to allow me to make a spigot here. As far as RPM goes on the lathe, the formula is RPM times diameter equals, it has to be less than 9,000. So the 10-inch blank, 10-inch blank would have a 900, the recommended RPM would be 900 maximum for that diameter wood. So all I'm gonna do at the beginning here is make a spigot for the chuck. And I've already marked the 2-inch circle and another one further out. I'm going to take a I'm just gonna start with a party tool. And I'm going to part in for this, as you can, right? And I don't need to go too deep. Now, the thing about the chucks, you have to, the chuck jaws, some chuck jaws require a dovetail, and some of them are perpendicular. And this chuck is a Axminster, and the spigot on that is a perpendicular spigot with a little nib on the end over here. So you'll grab that tenon. On the outside of the jaw is dovetail, so if I want to use a recess, I would have to have a dovetail on this recess. But I am just going to use the spigot. No. Let me make that just a little bit bigger. So, let's take this chuck off. Okay, so I'm just gonna hold it like this. And, you notice I have this as a perfect circle here, and I just holding it like that, I can still turn it. I only have to tighten it just a little bit, I can't turn it anymore. And the reason that works is that I've got this, sized it so that I get a complete circle, and the jar, and the chuck is holding all the way around the tenon. But I'm still gonna, still going to give it a little extra force, because when you have a tenon, you can crush the fibers together and it won't break. You could break, tenons do break off, but we'll try to avoid that tonight if we can. And I didn't true that up before because I'm going to true it up with this one. So that's going to be my first step here. As long as I have it available, I might as well use the tail sock as a support. Looks like it works. I don't know if that ever. No. Okay, so I have a fingernail grind on this gouge. It's just a 55-degree angle. Not that's that important, but it's just essentially a fingernail grind. And I'm going to use it to start with, I'll just start making this round. You want to, the fibers are going this way, so I want to cut through those fibers perpendicular to it. I'm just going to hold the gouge here, and I'm moving my body back and forth. And then stop before I get to the end. And then we go back the other way from here. So I'm not blowing it out. Yeah, I'm going to do, this is the top, so I want to know where the rim is. So I'm just going to, I'm going to cut it in. And go down, just where the rim is. So I have an idea where the rim is now. We'll mark this rim at about a quarter of an inch or so. I'll mark there. And then I'm going to do drill this wood finish to this. I'm getting a little far off of the tool rest, so I'm going to move that towards a little bit. You're not supposed to move your tool rest without turning the lathe off. And a lot of people violate that, including myself occasionally. But I don't think it's a good idea, actually. I'm sure I have a safety first.
Yes.
I don't have to get this perfect at this stage because I'm going to be doing quite a bit of other removal of wood. So this is the start. So I want to put a recess in here that I'm going to hold this with when I turn it around. And so I know that's got to be about 2 5/8, so it's 1 5/16. My eyes. Okay. So that's where my spigot is, where my recess is going to be. And I'm going to want a foot. I'm going to mark the foot here. I'll make the foot about that much bigger. And we'll do that now.
Charlie, is there some type of ratio that you use for food?
Well, a lot of
Just
people,
whatever looks good to you?
a lot, it's between aesthetics and function. You know, if you have something that's going to need some support, you might need it to be larger. My particular, for aesthetic purposes, I kind of like it a little smaller. A lot of people suggest a third to a half. But, you know, so it's really kind of up to you what you want to do and what you're trying to accomplish. A lot of times people will not put any foot at all on them, or they'll put this really little bitty thing. But, you know, some of these platters don't end up sitting flat on a table, they stand up in the display rack. So, you know, you think that some of that through. And a lot of it, a lot of, reason to do platters is to display a really pretty piece of wood or display your artistic ability by, doing all kinds of embellishing and painting and staining and some of that. Pretty much, you're pretty much unlimited on what you can do with platters. Plus, but they all have these same common procedures in mind. What I'm going to show tonight, pretty much they all kind of follow the same sort of process. So I've got that defined. Now, I want to get a dovetail recess on it. So I have a tool. Right, well, here, looking good. So it's okay. So this tool has got on the left side, on this side over here, I put a dovetail in there. On the right side, it's perpendicular. So, it's just a scraper that I ground this. I don't know what this tool was, but it's now a scraper that makes a dovetail recess. And then to use it, I just have to make this parallel with the blade bed, and inside that line, and I want to be at center. We're cutting at center, and I want to be pointing downhill. So I don't need to go very deep with this. All I did is pull it in. I pulling it toward me. We'll create that dovetail. We'll make it just a little wider. Now that chuck will register against that flat push in the part in the bottom, and expand into that dovetail. I want to work on this center section a little bit. I'm going to cut it down to a little smaller, a little thinner.
How deep are you gonna leave your recess finished? About,
About,
you can leave your shield down. Leave your shield down, we can hear you better.
okay.
Yeah.
I actually made this recess a little deeper than what I would.
No, I mean, you're finished, how deep are you gonna leave it?
An eighth of an inch.
Thank you.
Yeah, you don't hardly need anything to hold this, if it's right size and they're at the angle, you don't need much to hold it. And so what we're gonna do is just put some decoration in here. And one of the advantages of doing a recess on a platter is you can finish, you can completely finish the bottom of your platter before, and never have to turn it around unless you really unless you want to really minimize that bottom piece. Like I said, all I'm going to do here is a little high. This down just a little bit. I'm just gonna reduce the length of that. And yeah, put a bead in here. There's a lot of different ways you can do a bead. I have a beading tool, which is essentially it's a 3/16 inch beading tool. There's a flute on here, and it's essentially a scraper. And you use it with with the food on the rest. You want this angle to be about horizontal when it's on the rest, when heading at center. So I need to drop that out a bit. I'm gonna just introduce this to the wood. Now just rotating it back and forth just really slightly. And what I'm going to do here is, so, and all I'm going to do is I want to keep raising the handle until that line goes away. And I want to stop at that point. And I'll have a nice bead there. And you can leave it like that, or you can highlight it a bit by using a point tool and just put a little shadow line in there. Bottom.
And what is that tool, Charlie?
It's a point tool. All I did was take a round piece of steel, which actually used to be a gouge. The other side is actually a gouge. And ground three facets on this steel point. And I'm going to use that same tool to bond over this corner here. There's another way to get a bead. This is like a half bead here. And I'm just gonna, you could put more beads in there, you could do a lot of things. I'm just going to do a few embellishments, just to tell people you actually did work on something back there. I'm gonna put a little bead there, a little indentation there. And I'm gonna use it, again, use the point tool to round that corner off just a little bit. And so we have a spigot here, which looks like it belongs there at the bottom of the piece. So now I'm going to define the foot, which I don't want to be, I don't want the foot being really much, an eighth of an inch thick anyway. So I'm going to start out here and I'm going to pick up, I'm just going to point and across the frame about an inch and then use the foot. I'm going to actually have a little bit I need to make sure that if we've done this before, I really want to take that down a little bit. Forgot to do that. That needed to be needed to be smoothed out before I did that point. So I'll put that down. Okay, so now as far as an OG. I want to make an OG from this foot to this rim. An OG is just basically, when I come around here with a bead and then swing it around to the cove. So, swing around here and over back this way. And Jimmy Cruz has a method for that, which I'm gonna show you. Essentially, you mark this off in thirds, between the foot and the rim. So that's about half. It's about half there, so I'm gonna say it's there, and maybe it's there, 2/3. Kind of just by eye. And now, what I wanna do is I wanna make a straight line between the rim and the second line here. So I'm going to start by sort of just sighting down about like that, and putting my tool rest to be parallel to that line. About. And then if I take the bevel of my tool and do it right here and match that with this angle of this rest, I should be able to get a straight line between those points. So all I'm doing is taking a little bit of time. I'm going to check this in a minute. So I want to start the tool with the hook is forward and up a little bit. I'm using my bottom and move it back and forth here. And I'm watching this. I should be taking the same amount in this circle. So I'm taking off this much over here. I need to be taking off half the amount here. I should be about halfway here, and I am. I'm going to leave that same angle. Leave that in. Just keep cutting. All right. So we're about there. Well, I didn't bother with trying to make this perfectly good cut, but it's not too bad. The main point is that we have a straight line between those 2 points. The next step is to mark halfway in between those two. And that's going to be the low point of a cove. You're going to bring in a cove this way, and that's where your low point is. We should be, so we're going to start shaping the rim going this way, which is kind of backwards actually from a grain perspective, but we'll smooth out any problem with that if we create there later. So I'm going to start entering the tool with the tool is closed, and open it a little way, and then I'm going to bring my body around And I'm going to keep doing it with my body till I get to the bottom of the fold. And here's where you can think about just exactly how thin you want this rib. Do you want it to be really drastically in that way, or do you want it to be a little bit more gradual? But that's half of that fold. The other half comes this way. So I'm going to go over here and let it around. Okay, so that's the first step. We've got the cove here defined. Next step is to make this bead that comes around this way. So to do that, I'm going to go halfway between the foot and the rim. And that's going to be the inflection point. That's the point where you transition from a bead to a cove. You just do this by eye too. You don't have to follow this, but this one kind of is a way to start out being able to reliably produce a wood without too much trouble. Well, I can't really do a double cut up against the foot. I'm not quite there. I don't have that. I don't have the access to that to do a bevel cut from right up to the foot. But I'm going to start back here, and we'll fix that later.
Hey, Charlotte,
Yes,
take your spur out before you stick your elbow.
good idea.
I'm speaking from experience.
Yeah.
That thing hurts.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is going to be the motion here. Is if I want this to be a bead, I like two wires to follow around like this. I have to be going in like this. When I get to that line, I got to go back this way. So you know that shape of that bead there, mirroring the movement of my hand, right? There's a good. Even a short gouge. So I'm gonna do a different gouge. That at this point. I went to this has got a little bit different angle, and it's a 1/2 inch gouge. It'll work. Okay, so that's your basic OG. And if you're watching the shape develop, you're turning down here, you're really watching the shape develop up here. And I've got a bunch of lines in there, we gotta fix those. So you can get one clean test of this. I'm going very slow here. 4 feet there. And we'll let you get as many of these lines out as I can. in Japan. But I'll show a couple of different ways that you can improve this or refine it, maybe, make it worse. Always sandpaper.
Yeah, there you go, same baby work.
But if you need to, there's a couple of ways you can, other ways you can use the tool to make this stuff work. One is called a shear scrape. To do a shear scrape, you have the the edge of the gouge right on the wood, and the other edge is really close to the wood, it's 1/16 of an inch. You want your tool to be perpendicular to the place that you're doing the scrape. You want your handle to be way down here. And it's easier for me and a lot of people to do the scrape like this. I'm going to shape. And what can you do? That's a scoop. So this is a very equal cut to remove lines. It's easier to control than the actual cut with the scrape though. And when you get around to as you come around, you may have to move the rest because you do want it to be perpendicular to the. But, so that's an option, and, you know, it's worthwhile when you're making these things to take time, figure out, what works for you and what doesn't work for you, and some works, one kind of cut will work, and I won't do all of it, so practice these sorts of cuts. The other cut that works is a sheer cut. You have the bevel is not cutting, and you just move into the cut with your hand like this, and it's cutting a double cut on the wood, and then I'm not getting exactly right. And it will produce a pretty decent, a very nice cut, nice finish, but that's probably, that's as good as I'm gonna make it different. So, that is the bottom. Next step, turn it around.
At this point, Charlie, would you go ahead and sand and finish that bottom
Yeah,
before you turn it around, correct?
yeah, you can sand and finish that. And, be done with it. That's one. We need that the right size. Okay, again. Okay, I didn't have to tighten that very tight before I stopped turning. This one you have to be a little bit more cautious here because if you tighten it too tight, you can blow that recess up. So, but again, it doesn't need to be very tight. That's probably adequate. Yeah, I'm not pushing this very hard at all. So, I want to go through the bottom, so I'm going to drill a hole to go to the depth of it. When absolutely necessary, let's sort of convenient. So I've done this before, but this may or not be, may or may not be right. So I'm gonna just sight down here, up to this point here. And I think the end of this, can you see this at all?
Yes.
Yes,
I think I'm about a half inch from the
Yes.
bottom. So if I do it that deep, I'll have a half inch on the bottom. You have to remember, you got recess in there about 1/8 of an inch or so. So staying a half inch from the bottom is probably not a bad thing. I want to drill this at low speed. And not that low, faster than that, maybe 300 or so. And I'm gonna hold on to the chuck when I do this. Hold on to this. There we go. I'm just gonna go to that end there. And that should be as far down as I want to go with this. I'm going to first I would like to screw that up a bit. Work it along. Stabilize that with my hand a little bit. Not too hard, you just let it down. At this point, you'd really want to get that rim done the way you want it. And now I've still got a little bit more going up to do over here. I'm gonna put it,
Charlie, what dictates whether you do a full cut or a push cut? What do you
Well,
do?
I will get it, this, when I'm doing this across here, if I'm cutting directly into this direction, fibers are coming here through here, so I can get a nice clean cut going this way. When I'm pulling back, I'm really scraping it.
Scrape.
So that's the thread, it's not gonna give you much of the surface. This is gonna give you a nice clean cut. But this is actually going kind of the wrong direction, going into the end grain. You know, the end grain's coming around, twice the revolution. So it's probably good, you'd like to not do that, but it does produce a reasonably good surface. Another option on these is you can use a negative rate scraper. Negative rate scraper basically has got a shallow angle on the top and a steep angle on the nose. And you always grind it, you grind the nose and it leaves a burr on the top. And that burr is the thing that does the cutting. And it's actually, you do it, you want it at center. You want the cutting to be done at the center height with your tool flat. And you can clean these surfaces up with this pretty easily. You notice that I'm getting nice into them. And the reason is that burr is really sharp. And it's coming directly through those fibers. So that's another way to clean this up really well. I still have a lot of hair. I've got a bunch of hair out here. So this is would take some time to fine tune this with the cutting tools to get rid of this hair out here. It's not good. But I don't want to take that time tonight. But at home I would probably try to fix that as much as I could. I might try it going the other direction. Like take the valve and come up with a price. I think it's going to need to be stabilized a little bit. See if that helped. Yeah, that helped a lot because I was going the other direction, which would be more correct. A little bit more difficult to get through that length. But you know, achieving that, getting the shape using scraping and stuff is the fast way to do that. But ultimately, when you want to get rid of hair out, you're going to have to use a cutting tool and figure out how to make the edge cut the fiber. Then I'm going to do the same sort of, I put a bead on this to the edge of this. And I'll just do it as well. And then highlight that with a pointing tool. All you need is just a little shadow line there. Just make it stand out. Pointing tool and break this down to the bead of it forward. And then need to hollow this out. I want to get rid of this. So this is essentially hollowing a bowl. I'm just going to start by entering the wood with the foot closed, moving around. Be a little careful. I should be more careful here. Because I only have a loose that holding that. So you want to be a little careful. I understand there's a series of cuts in here. Now I like to leave a little ledge on this, to the inside of the bead. You could go all the way to the end of the bead and then it would flow right down the bead into the bowl. And so that's a matter of aesthetic, what we like. But now I pretty much have established the rim, what I want the rim to be. I would hit these edges with a little, 320, 220 or 320 sandpaper to soften them so they aren't cutting you. You could do a chamfer with a tool, but I like to keep a sharp, a nice, I want an edge that looks sharp but isn't sharp. So this is just a matter of starting the cut with the flute closed, open the flute, turn it around. I'm gonna go a little faster here. Kind of boring, huh? I'm not really worried about this, about what the cut looks like against now. We're already out using it, right? So how much we have left? I don't know.
Charlie, can you bump your mic in just a little bit? Oh, oops. Leave it off.
It'll be okay? Yeah. All right. So, I do have a tool for sale. Good. And a dowel. And I can put this here. And then I can register it sitting on those beads. And, so it's sitting on these beads here. And I can take it and run it across here. And it shows me that I'm not very deep there. The other thing I can do with this is I can run this through to where I think the bottom should be. So mark there. And that'll tell me how much I have left to go. So we could a little over half an inch. That just, not necessarily, I don't really need to know that. Sometimes I would, right now I don't. Keep going to school. So I'd like to start with, we can continue to step all the way down. I should point out that I'm not worried about going through the bottom here because I've got, this OG is really thick but if I had made a really flat rim here where it's flat for the parallel to this, I'd have to be a little careful about going through when I came around here. So you're paying attention to where you're at with your piece. Maybe. I'm gonna lower my tool a bit, raise it up, and come down in a hard. And you can see I'm almost there. Pretty close. You were sharper down to him. I got a bunch of lines here. You want to work on these lines. You want to start back before the problem occurs. Pick up a cut, and then come back around through it. And back into the center. And throw my speed right down because my rotational speed is, linear speed is slowing down. And slowly go through the center. If you want to, I often will leave not on purpose necessarily, but I might leave a little nipple in there, which is sandable. You can sand that off. You don't ever want to put a divot in there because a divot means you have to sand all of this around here. So you're better off if you leave a little cloud at the bottom. It's not the end of the world to be sanded. Those aren't too bad a cut. Those aren't cut too bad. And you'd like to be able to make really clean territory cuts with a gouge. It's not always easy, and it takes a lot of practice. So when you're turning a bowl, you have all this wood in here to practice with. You know, every one could be a finished cut if you want to practice. But what I found as a saver, something that made my life a lot easier was negative rate scrapers. I've talked about before. I usually use them without handles. But this one has got a little curve to it. And the neat thing about you have to put them on the grinder you get about a minute or so of time with them before you have to put it back on the grinder. But it's really simple. It's a platform. You just turn it on the grinder and go like that. Half a minute or a minute of turning is a lot with this finishing tool. Because all I'm going to do here is up and down over that. I'm just gonna. Well, I don't want to be pushing against the wood. I've got a little vibration. I was pushing too hard on the wood. So put the pressure against the tool edge with your hand. Just really lightly touch that wood. And so was that about 10 or 20 seconds? So you could do that about 4 or 5 times without having to do it back to the grinder.
Excuse me, when you use the negative rate, a lot of those you see we need to have it, leveled.
The horizontal.
Okay, notice that.
Was I down a little bit? Or?
Yeah, that's right, I was
Yeah, I
curious.
should probably fix it. I should probably watch that.
No, I'm just,
You're right. But I need to be cutting on center. I guess I'm down a little bit. Raise it a little bit. And you can see there's a fair amount of tear out in there. Some woods are gonna not respond very well to that. And you really like to get rid of the tear out. And if you really wanna take your hand and move it like this and look for bumps and, get rid of the bumps by marking them with a pencil and then use your penny tool or your scrapers to get them out of there. I don't have any of those right now, but I don't like the finish, so maybe I'll go back to the gouge. Should be sharpening, this should be a fresh gouge off the grinder. But if not, but I'm gonna go through the bottom here.
Uh-oh.
Draws better in the fireplace.
Yeah. Too many files here.
It's happened to everybody that you've ever done it.
Okay, so this is a picture frame.
Make it a mirror.
But that,
A lid with a big mouth on it.
so one of the lessons there is, well, if you don't like sand it, don't cut it, because
Hold it up to your face. We gotta. There we go. Perfect shot. Thank you.
at least I predicted it was going to be through the bottom, so there's,
So,
Charlie, it's a candle holder.
yeah.
so is that where you make some kind of a decorative insert and
Sure.
save it?
Yeah, you can put it on a foot, make a separate foot for it and put it in there. But that's the bowl, that's the platter.
Well, that's why you brought more too. in case you need
Yeah, you want to see it, you want me to finish it?
It's up to you. I just reminded you did bring extra pieces.
Maybe we can, anybody, well, it's kind of boring actually.
Yeah, and this is why when we do demos, I always tell everybody, because I'll do it, everybody does it, have other pieces, so if you do make a mistake, you can continue on.
And that's what this is.
Exactly right.
But, I don't know,
It's your call.
it's kind of boring to
Okay.
do the rest of it, the main part of this was how do you make this OG, the basic process of a platter, how do you make a foot, how do you, do the rim. This part is just, basic foil turning, it's, clear out the inside. And again, what I was doing there was trying to come up with different cuts and show her that, and I didn't pay enough attention to how far I went down, but don't do that at home. All right.
Yeah, well, at least you don't have anybody watching when you do it.
Right.
Hey, okay.
Any questions?
Get the section where it says, I'm not worried about going through the bottom of this. Put it under that picture.
Well, I drill it there, I knew I was going on underneath the drill, I knew I went past the drill hole, but I would say, I thought, well, one more, I get one more of that.
How many times have we said just one?
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're fitting a lid.
Yeah.
I need just a little bit more. Okay, now.
Questions?
You pass that around though, even though it's a mistake. Charlie, you pass that around?
Yes. Well,
No,
do they have any questions?
no, you have any questions at all?
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
So I've had trouble with bend grain, whether it's bowl turning, the outside seems to be a little easier, but the inside, when I get to the end grain, I'll get, the side grain nicely smooth and the end grains, whether it's tear out or just rough. And it's to a point where even when you stand it, it doesn't
Yeah, you
really come out. But I noticed you were talking about cuts that would deal with the end grain, whether it was back and so could you just explain to me like how you're following the grain and what the grain is telling you how to use
Well-
the tools?
Yeah. The, when you're turning a bowl and the grain is coming around like this, and you're trying to push that gouge into the end grain. So at least some people suggest, by lowering the tool, going above center with your tool, and you can minimize that, you can change that angle that comes into the grade, and you're cutting more of it at an angle instead of throwing straight into it. There's a if you use so that's one possible way. It does no guarantee that it always is going to work, but it is something. If you talk with David Ellsworth, and he has a gouge that looks like this, and he will go into the bowl with the flute up like this, and we'll be cutting the bowl right at this corner here. The way to do that cut is you start here with this flute like this, and you go in there and get your cuts, and then you're not getting a cut because you're on bevel. You bring the back this way until you get a cut, and then you follow that around. And the angle, I'm not sure exactly how that works, except it's supposed to work. And I do know that if you move that gouge at 1 degree this way, you're going to get a huge catch.
Right.
So
We call it the Ellsworth suicide cut,
So
because one little mistake and you blow the piece up or you get a bad catch and throw it out.
It's a great beginner cut because it just show you how to blow a ball up. See,
Another way to get around the tear out that you get is a little spray bottle of water. And if you wet the wood, it's not going to make it wet like you turned it when it was wet. It just wets just the top of the surface. And when you make a really fine cut, you'll get just a slurry of wood. But it can make a whale of a difference.
right. The other thing is
It dries almost immediately. It is like making
if you're gonna put like a tongue oil finish or something or walnut oil, you can put that on there and that'll help too.
the oil makes it tougher to sand when it reaches
Right.
the sand.
Right.
That's the thing with it.
And, but and I think negative rake scrapers are really the ultimate answer for that particular problem. But they can create other kinds of tear out, so it's sort of, some of it, and you might find a solution that works one time with wood with one wood and it won't work with another piece. And maybe it's the day, some days Mike can't do anything, right? And the other days it works fine, and work one day and didn't work the next. So it's a lot of the kind of a little bit of experimenting. It's there's a lot to do with tool control. Trying to, you know, as much as you can possibly use your body to control the tool, as opposed to your arms, you're better off. So if you can, like on bowls, if you can slide the headstock to the end, and you can stand out here and use your body to support your tool and move the tip of the tool with your body, you'll have much better results.
And a really, really sharp tool.
Oh yeah, sharp tools. Yeah, like any of these last cuts, I would have been sharpening before I made each one of them. Literally cut, sharpen, cut, sharpen, because it makes so much difference. I could tell you that I can feel the difference in the amount of pressure I have to put onto that wood. Just in this little bit of demonstration in these tools. So, and people, I have always had a problem with taking time out to sharpen, and that's really foolish economy, because why would you want to create a bad surface? Now you gotta put 3 more cuts onto it. But maybe if I had a good sharp tool, I'd only have to cut it 1 time. So,
Thank you. Just like you said, Charlie, not all the wood, I mean, each piece of wood.
right,
Not consistency.
yeah, and
It's
not
not
only,
like a piece of plastic or something like that.
it could be within the same species too, we can have,
The same piece of wood, same bowl.
Yeah. right,
Different parts of the same log.
right. So any other questions? Okay, I hope everybody liked it.
Good job, Charlie. Good job, Secretary.